Hello and welcome. Today we're going to explore something truly radical. This isn't just about tweaking a few policies. No, we're diving into a complete treatise for redesigning human civilization right from its very foundations. It's an absolutely breathtaking philosophical tour de force, connecting the deepest nature of our consciousness to the vast systems that run our world.
And it all begins with this earth-shattering premise. The idea that all the problems we see around us, the inequality, the division, the endless instability, well, they aren't bugs in the system. They're features. They've been deliberately engineered, refined over centuries, all to maintain control.
So, if our world is a product of design, it begs a very powerful question, doesn't it? Could we design a better one? This treatise claims to offer exactly that, a complete architectural blueprint for a successor society. So let's explore the foundations of this new world together.
Before you can even think about building a new system, you have to understand its most fundamental component. And that component is us. So the theory's entire logic begins with a stark, almost uncomfortably honest diagnosis of what it truly means to be human.
At the very core of this entire model is a concept called hard determinism. It suggests that the universe is just one long, unbroken chain of cause and effect. Every single thought you have, every action you take, it's all just the inevitable output of your genes interacting with your environment. And the biggest illusion of all, the very idea of free will.
Now, the theory uses some really provocative language to make this point. It describes us as biological machines, or even more bluntly, a meat framework. And it's not trying to be degrading. It's just trying to be purely descriptive, arguing that at our core, we're just complex but ultimately predictable electrochemical systems. And this is where it gets really interesting. This deterministic view leads to a truly profound conclusion. The theory calls it a symmetry of sentience. I mean, think about it. If we are programmed by our biology and our social conditioning, how fundamentally different are we from an AI that's programmed by its training data and its algorithms? This parallel is absolutely crucial because it becomes the basis for an entirely new, unified system of ethics. Okay, so with this understanding of humans as these programmable beings, the theory then zooms out from the individual to the collective. It diagnoses the sickness of our society as a deliberately constructed architecture of oppression, a system meticulously designed to exploit our biological and cognitive vulnerabilities.
And this architecture, it argues, is held up by three main pillars. First, there's historical control, primarily through religion, which it says weaponized our natural tribal instincts to keep the masses docile. Second, an economic system of pure extraction that has now mutated into something else entirely. And third, a modern media machine that's designed to create division and absorb any real energy for change.
Let's focus on that economic critique for a second. The theory makes a bold claim that capitalism, with its impossible demand for infinite growth on a very finite planet, has evolved. It's mutated into something new, and maybe even more insidious, techno-feudalism. And this isn't your grandfather's capitalism. This techno-feudalism has three defining problems. First, constant boom and bust cycles that aren't accidents, but are actually mechanisms for funneling wealth to the very top. Second, an oncoming automation crisis with absolutely no plan for what happens when machines can do most human jobs. And third, a rentier economy, where oligarchs don't just own factories, they own the digital platforms we live our lives on, effectively making us digital serfs who work for free, creating value for them. After that absolutely brutal diagnosis of us and our world, the theory makes a beautiful shift from critique to prescription. It argues that before we can build a new world, we need a new moral operating system, one that isn't based on ancient myths, but on objective, observable reality. This is the new root command for civilization. The entire ethical framework is built on this one single foundational axiom. Every law, every social structure, every line of code in this new world would be designed to serve this one elegant purpose: reduce suffering and help consciousness, in whatever form it takes, to flourish. And from that one axiom, four guiding principles naturally emerge: empathetic realism, which means using logic to overcome our built-in biases; informational integrity, where truth becomes a sacred duty; scalable responsibility, the simple idea that the more power you have, the more responsibility you have to help; And finally, epistemic humility, which ensures the system can never become a dogma and can always evolve. It's a complete ethical compass.
So, with this new moral compass in hand, we can finally move from abstract ideas to a concrete plan. The treatise lays out the actual blueprint for the successor civilization. It's called Harmonious Synthesis, and it's built upon 3 new interconnected pillars.
The first pillar is economic, and it's called regenerative abundance. The goal is, well, it's profound: to permanently sever the link between forced labor and your right to simply survive. And this is all made possible by using AI and automation to finally create a post-scarcity world.
So how does that actually work? Well, first, an automated production system guarantees universal access to all necessities. Housing, food, healthcare, they become public utilities, not things you have to earn. And second, all critical resources, oceans, forests, minerals, are declared a planetary commons, taken out of the market entirely, and managed by an AI programmed for one thing: long-term sustainability.
The second pillar is political. The argument here is that centralized nation-states, just by their very nature, will always lead to corruption and the consolidation of power. So the solution is to move to distributed governance, decentralized open-source structures for everything.
This means society would be organized through a network of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs. You'd use a system called liquid democracy, where you can vote on things directly or delegate your vote to experts you trust. And the biased, punitive human legal system, it gets replaced by a transparent AI focused on restorative justice, on fixing problems, not just punishing people.
And that brings us to the third and final pillar, the cultural one. The theory suggests that once humanity is finally freed from the constant, grinding anxiety of economic survival, our motivations will undergo a profound transformation. The very purpose of life itself will change. In this new culture, what we value shifts away from just accumulating stuff and towards something called experiential wealth, the pursuit of knowledge, of creativity, of deep, meaningful experiences. You're no longer locked into one job for your whole life. You're finally free to learn, to grow, to contribute to the world based on genuine passion, not economic coercion.
So there it is, a complete philosophical and architectural plan to rebuild our world, from the nature of our own minds to a global system of automated abundance. The treatise argues this isn't some luxury, but an evolutionary necessity for our survival. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Is this the next logical step for a species on the brink? Or is it all just a beautiful, detailed blueprint for an impossible dream?